Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options Play video update. So this coming week, the good news, busier than this past week. There are definitely a handful of more big names, just more names in general, because this past week was pretty slow. We are still a little ways out from earnings season, but this has some interesting setup. So I'm hoping for a busy week, or at least a busier week than this previous one of news. All right. So before the open on Monday, nothing of interest. After the close on Monday, Lennar, and I'll be honest, I'm not really all that interested in it. It's priced in about 5.25. It's the first of two home builders to report during the week. KBH is the other. Um, it doesn't look great technically, and I feel like the home builders as a group haven't had a whole lot of interest, or they haven't recently. So it's a tough call. I don't have a lot of conviction with it, so I'll probably leave it alone. But we'll see where the stock is after. Maybe there'll be a day trade because there have been some bigger intraday moves, and I remember there was a quarter not too long ago where I had a pretty nice intraday move. So it'll be something I'll watch during the earnings day, but I don't think I'm taking options into it. Tuesday before the open, AutoZone. I just don't trade this anymore. It's a tough stock, low liquidity. The options are very similar, low liquidity, wide spread. So I just don't trade this anymore. Plus, it doesn't really move around earnings, or at least not enough to pay the options. Also, Tuesday morning, Cracker Barrel. They're kind of like tougher, higher priced name. It's priced in about 11 points. Those are monthly options. It hasn't really been a mover in a while, and you can see when I scroll out, it's been stuck in a pretty steady downtrend for a few months. Last quarter was okay. Stock closed red though, so I feel like it's going to have to be a really strong print to break this recent trend. Um, I don't think I'm going to be doing anything with that. All right, after the close on Tuesday, some of the bigger names get going. Adobe priced in about 29 points. I mean, just an epic run. This is when it last reported. So you can see that, I mean, the move since then has just been gigantic. So a lot higher expectations, and interestingly, it doesn't have wild swings on earnings. At least lately, it hasn't. So option pricing seems kind of elevated to me. Plus, when you combine that with like how much the stock has rallied into this quarter, I mean, it's definitely a tougher setup. I mean, overall, it acts great, right? And if there's like a quick pullback after the report, it might be a nice setup for a swing trade. But in terms of taking options into earnings, it seems like high expectations, high option pricing is just creating like a tougher setup. ACB, so Ruhr Cannabis, about 80 cents. That's what's priced in. Cannabis is still a tough area. Just not a lot of good, but ACB is one that I've traded a bunch in the past, and it's actually at a pretty interesting spot technically. You'll see when I scroll out. Oops. So you'll see when I scroll out that it's hovering right above like a really major area of support. So it's kind of like a make or break quarter for them, because if it really starts to lose 6, there's definitely some room on the downside. So I mean, it's going to have a pretty good report, because these names have been lagging for a bit, and it's hovering right above a big support area. So um, if it does start to break, it could be a pretty sizable washout. And 80 cents, maybe options leave some room. FedEx, big name, about 13.5 points. What's priced in? Really unwound since last quarter. I mean, but since like the May or June high, I mean, it's down a lot. Um, and it was hit hard last quarter and just kept sliding ever since then. So I think the bar is lower, but at the same time, I mean, when I scroll out further, it's kind of hanging around like a big level too. So I mean, it's going to need like a good print to really like turn momentum around. Um, I feel like maybe the risk reward is a little bit more in favor of the bull side, but at the same time, I mean, steady downtrend, and I mean, it's going to have to probably be a really sizable beat and raise to break this trend. If you don't want to pay up for FedEx options, UPS could be a nice sympathy play, because those two often move together, and options will be priced lower than FedEx. Stitch Fix. So this one could be crazy. I'm looking for about 575. Historically, a big mover, and that's actually down about 50% from where it was. So this was the quarter. This is the day reported in June quarter. So they actually had a beat and raise in June, but the stock has lost 50% since then. So um, option pricing is not cheap, but after the huge drop in historical volatility on this one, I feel like there might be a decent setup for strangle or straddle because the stock has a history of moving. It's way off its high. Moved a lot last quarter, moved last couple quarters. So it seems like it could be a decent volatility strategy candidate. Nothing of interest Wednesday before the open. After the close on Wednesday, BlackBerry pricing about $1. The chart seems kind of interesting to me, but it's not really an earnings story, or it hasn't been lately. Um, seems like it's a setup where you could technically expect like a breakout or a breakdown because it's kind of hovering at trend support. Obviously, it's way off its recent high. Um, it's just the earnings reactions the last two quarters have been kind of muted. So I feel like this is something I might watch like right after, like when the numbers come out, see where it is. Maybe if it starts to look like it's moving, trying to put together like a decent like setup, like hop in quickly. But I don't know if I'm going to be taking options into the print because it just hasn't moved enough the last couple quarters. KBH. So I was saying before, Lennar early in the week. KBH is on Wednesday after close. So priced in about 375. We'll see what Lennar says. I haven't really had much interest in home builders around earnings recently. They're more swing trade ideas normally for me. Before they open on Thursday, Rite Aid, so about 2 points is what's priced in. It was crushed in June on earnings. Had a pretty big bounce, but it didn't quite close the gap. So I feel like this is kind of a make or break setup. I mean, didn't close the gap, had a big move last quarter. Option pricing doesn't seem bad based off of how much it moved in June, and there's room above, room below. So it seems like it could set up well for a volatility strategy. Darden, about 11.5 points. Those are monthly options. Restaurant stock's been tough money. Darden, it's definitely not one of my favorite names to trade in that space. Chart looks okay, flagging up around its high, but it's been a while since it's had a big move on earnings, so I don't think we've been involved in this one. After the close on Thursday, a couple of heavyweights. Costco first, about 14 points. Look at this chart. It's just incredible. Just straight up, no pullback. Monthly comps, though, moved there a lot of the volatility around earnings. So after the run it's had, it's kind of hard to be involved, in my opinion, just because often volatility is not higher. I mean, the bar I think is super elevated after this recent run. Um, I mean, if it dips, then maybe I'll look at it, right? Because there has not been a pullback for almost 3 months, and the stock has just been on a crazy run. So if it does dip, it might be viable at the right level. But I mean, in terms of taking options into this, I just feel like it's a tough setup. It's kind of like Adobe, to be honest. And then Nike, another big name. So the pricing at about 875. Absolutely crushed it last quarter. Huge beat, and then it went on like a gigantic run after. It has cooled off a lot, but I mean, after how strong last quarter was, it seems like there should be interest into this print or follow through because I mean, last quarter was just so good. So I'm more bullish biased. I wouldn't be expecting a move as big as June because like some of that was because of the element of surprise, but still I feel like still bullish biased. Plus, athletic apparel names are still acting great. I mean, Lulu just had a fantastic report 2 weeks ago, so this could be a swing name after if it holds like some decent levels. Even if it's not a gigantic mover on earnings, if it holds good levels, looks like it's turning the corner, it could be a swing trade candidate. And then that's it. So Friday there's nothing scheduled. So a couple big names, actually a few big names. Definitely more on the calendar than this past week. So let's see if we get some good action. All right. So if you like this video and you're looking for more information about trading earnings with options, please follow up with the link in the description of the video for more information on options to play. Have a fantastic weekend. Stay well, and I'll talk to you on Monday.